Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine. And I've got a big lineup of news that I'd like to brief you all on today. So today's date is February 17th, 2025, and it's Monday. So welcome back to the channel for another great week of news. And I hope you guys all had a wonderful weekend. So we're going to start off talking about some major hits inside of Russia last night. Ukraine launched another major drone swarm into the Krasnodar region of Russia. This is in southwestern Russia. Once again, we have two major hits to report. You can see here on your screen, Ukrainian drones strike Russia's Ilsky oil refinery and also an oil pumping station. Two important Russian enterprises that work for Russia's military industrial complex came under attack: the Ilsky oil refinery and the Kropotkinskaya oil pumping station. So, very big news here, guys, and I apologize. My voice is not super strong today. I did get a little bit of sore throat over the weekend, so I apologize if my voice is not 100%, but we're going to do the best we can to get through all this news here for you. So, yeah, these two major hits last night inside the Krasnodar region. We have the Kropotkinskaya oil pumping station, a little hard to pronounce. That's part of the Caspian pipeline, okay, that comes from Kazakhstan to the Novorossiysk port inside of the Krasnodar region. We had a direct strike on that oil pumping station, and it looks like it has been shut down as of this time. So that means that oil flows through this major pipeline are going to be cut off for a temporary period until they get it back online. So I do have that information here for you guys, and also the Ilsky oil refinery. You can see here in the video footage. It is a little bit blurred out, but Shots on Telegram was able to get us this video footage to show you a massive fire that broke out on this oil refinery. Okay, so this is also in the Krasnodar region as well, near the town of Ilsky. And I believe this same oil refinery actually came under attack two times over the last couple years. I think in 2024 and 2023, it was hit multiple times. Okay, so major damage to that facility, as we can see, a massive fire, and lots of other big updates coming out from this war that I want to share with you guys. And we're also going to talk more about major statements coming out in regards to this war potentially coming to an end soon. So let's go ahead and jump right into this, guys. We're going to hop on over to X here for a moment. I've got this report here from PS01. Debris on the oil refinery in Ilsky, Krasnodar. The Ukrainian armed forces attempted to attack the Ilsky oil refinery in the Krasnodar territory. As local residents of the village of Severskaya told Shot, a series of loud explosions were heard in the sky at about 1 a.m. The UAV debris fell near the local oil refinery. Emergency services are currently working on the scene. Okay, so that was a new statement coming out. And Shot being a major Telegram channel that reports a lot on the attacks inside of Russia. So this was video footage coming out from that area. This looks like security camera footage in the town of Ilsky, showing some sort of explosion in the background over here from one of these drones coming in. So there were lots of reports as well of drones crashing into residential homes over here. So maybe some of these were suppressed by electronic warfare or shot down. And I think we did have actually somebody that was wounded over here in the town of Ilsky as well, from one of these drones that fell and crashed onto somebody's home. So we did have residential homes being hit last night inside of Ilsky during these ongoing attacks. So we're going to hop on over to a map now. Let me show you guys exactly where these two facilities are located. So here's Ukrainian territory. We got Russian territory. We're going to be focusing on down here, the southwestern portion of Russia. We'll zoom into the Krasnodar region of Russia over here, and we're going to go to the town of Kropotkin, which is just right here. A little bit north of that, probably about maybe 10 kilometers or so, we have the Kropotkin oil pumping station. Okay, so this is the oil pumping station that was targeted last night, and we do have confirmed hits here at this facility, which caused it to shut down. Okay, we don't know how long it's going to be shut down for, but again, major pipeline that runs from Kazakhstan just to the east of here and goes through here over to the port of Novorossiysk, where they transport lots of oil from there as well. And looks like this place has been shut down. Okay, so you can kind of see the size of this facility here, an oil pumping station for the Caspian Sea pipeline. So again, just a little bit north of the town of Kropotkin. Sorry, guys, Kropotkin. A little bit hard to say there. And also, we're going to talk about this oil refinery. So just a little bit southeast over here, we have the town of Ilsky, just southeast as well of the town or the major city of Krasnodar. So we'll zoom in over here to Ilsky, and just to the east of the town of Ilsky, right over here, we have the Ilsky oil refinery. Okay, so a massive refinery over here. And again, from what I understand, it was targeted, I think, back in February of last year and also in 2023. We did have massive fires breaking out at this facility previously over the last couple years as Ukrainian drones have targeted this facility multiple times. Okay, so just a little bit east of the town of Ilsky right here and southeast of the major city of Krasnodar. Okay, so we've got these two major points here, the Ilsky oil refinery and also the Kropotkin oil pumping station that have been targeted as of last night, both taking direct hits from Ukrainian drones. So let's jump back to X now. I've got more video footage to show you guys over here. Vicegrad 24 breaking. Ukraine has launched a large drone swarm strike against the Russian oil refinery in the Krasnodar Krai region of Russia. Okay, so not sure if I told you guys earlier, but if I did, 90 drones apparently were being used to target these two facilities, the oil refinery and the oil pumping station. So this video is actually going to show you what looks like a drone that fell down and crashed into a residential neighborhood over here in the Krasnodar region as drones were coming in. Take a look at this.
Здесь над поселком летит. Мимо нас. Ебать!
All right, so pretty crazy video, and sad to see this, that one of these drones looks like it might have fallen out of the skies and crashed on what looks like maybe somebody's home or something over here. You can see a fire that breaks out soon after that. So again, we did have drones landing on some homes inside of the Krasnodar region, as many of these probably being suppressed by electronic warfare. Okay, also from Max 24, update from Drone Bomber, massive attack on Krasnodar Krai. Okay, so we've got a map here to show you guys the trajectory of many of these drones that were incoming to Russia last night. You can see a few of them heading up here into the Belgorod Oblast, but majority of them were heading down southwest into the Krasnodar Krai region of Russia. Looks like even a few heading over Sevastopol as well, but primarily the Krasnodar region being targeted last night. And if we notice, probably majority of the attacks happening inside of Russia usually appear to be in the Krasnodar region is what we have mainly seen. Sometimes Rostov as well, but mainly Krasnodar is the main target here. So here's another video from Max 24, Ilsky oil refinery in the Krasnodar Krai. Okay, so that same video I had for you guys on the waiting screen when you came in here. Just wanted to pull it up full screen real quick to show you this massive blaze coming from this facility. Looks like maybe some of these oil storage tanks at the oil refinery were hit. So you can see a constant flame coming from there. And looks like a pretty heavy flame as well, even though some of it is blurred out. Okay, now also from Astra, 12 houses damaged in Ilsky settlement, Krasnodar region after Ukrainian drone attack, woman injured according to the governor. Local residents report that drones targeted the Ilsky oil refinery. Okay, so we can see 12 houses being hit last night due to some of these drones falling out of the sky. And also a woman was injured, okay, according to the governor of that area. So take a look at this. You're going to just hear some drones flying over this man's house. Take a look at this. Okay, so not much we can see here, but we can hear a lot of these drones coming over this man's house in the Krasnodar Krai region of Russia. So lots of drones were entering into there last night. Now for Max 24, Krasnodar Krai. Here's another video as well that shows a direct strike over here. Not sure exactly what was hit, but we can see a massive flame there as this exploded drone strikes a target over here in the Krasnodar region. So I'm not sure exactly what that is that was hit, but something taking a direct hit over here in Krasnodar. All right, now from War Translated. In the Krasnodar region, drones also attacked the Kropotkinskaya oil pumping station. This is the largest oil pumping station of the Caspian pipeline consortium in Kuban. After the attack, the station ceased operations. Okay, so this is a little map kind of showing from Kazakhstan where it runs over here. Here's the Caspian Sea right here. I'll have a better map for you guys in a minute. I know this is in Russia for the most part. But this is where the Kropotkinskaya oil pumping station is located, okay? And the port of Novorossiysk would be right here. So here's a better map from Maria Avdiva. Ukrainian drones cripple Russia's largest Caspian pipeline pumping station, Kropotkinskaya. cutting off oil transit to Novorossiysk. Some added color for talks in Saudi Arabia. So here's a little bit better map as it comes from Kazakhstan, runs through the southwestern portion of Russia. Here's Kropotkin, where that hit took place, and then the port of Novorossiysk. We have the Black Sea right here in the Caspian Sea. So something to note when it comes to gas supplies coming from Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan used to transport natural gas also through here, liquefied natural gas through this same area. And just recently, we reported to you guys that they're now starting to ship them from ports, I think from here, from Atirau, if I'm saying that right. And they send them down through the Caspian Sea and are now starting to transport some liquefied natural gas through Azerbaijan to completely avoid Russia. And now at the same time, we've got this Caspian Sea pipeline that transports oil also being cut off now. Okay, so those are got to be major hits to Russia now, as Kazakhstan is also finding ways to get liquefied natural gas through Azerbaijan now instead of going through Russia. Okay, so major hits to Russia's economy once again. Now from next to Chernobyl nuclear power plant is on fire again. Insulation of the sarcophagus, which was attacked by a Russian drone a few days ago, continues to smolder. Today, 3 new fire sources were discovered, and climbers are working to extinguish them. Radiation levels remain normal. The sarcophagus over Chernobyl prevents radiation from spreading from the destroyed reactor. The protective structure was built immediately after the disaster, which became the most severe nuclear accident in human history. In 2016, the structure was modernized, but the occupiers decided to test its durability. Okay, so we talked about this, I think it was on Friday or Saturday of last week, and this structure took a direct hit from a Russian drone and caught on fire as well. So looks like they were able to put out the fire additionally, but looks like new fires were started here. As you can see, even some smoke coming from there. The engineers had to jump back up on the roof again and put out new fires that were starting once again. So pretty scary to have to report that. But as far as I know, the situation has been under control and they've put out these new fires, okay, that have started. Now for Megatron Ron just in, UK Prime Minister Starmer says he's ready to send troops to Ukraine to enforce a peace deal with Russia, according to the Telegraph. Okay, this was a big report yesterday as Keir Starmer from the UK, the Prime Minister, announced that they'd be willing to send UK troops over to Ukraine to help them out with any kind of secured peace deal and have a contingent of forces there located inside of Ukraine. So that was a big update today. There's Keir Starmer. Here's Volodymyr Zelensky right here, the president of Ukraine. And then also, not only the UK, but Sweden as well, thinking of doing the same thing as of today. So from next, Sweden is ready to send its troops to Ukraine. When asked by Reuters whether Sweden is prepared to contribute to a peacekeeping forces, Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson responded, "We will take part in these negotiations, and of course, this is absolutely possible." Earlier, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer stated that London is ready to deploy British troops to Ukraine as peacekeepers. Okay, so far, the UK and Sweden being the only countries that I know of coming out publicly and announcing they're willing to send peacekeeping forces into Ukraine once a deal can be struck between Ukraine and Russia. Okay, so that's very big updates from them today. Also from Vicegrad24, breaking, Macron held a 20-minute phone call with Trump just before the European Emergency Summit on Ukraine started in Paris minutes ago. Okay, this just coming out today, and we heard about this over the weekend, that Emmanuel Macron called on multiple European nations to hold an emergency summit by Monday, which is today, and they were going to be discussing how to deal with Donald Trump, as it seems like Donald Trump is kind of going around the back end and working with Russia in some ways. At least that's kind of what's being reported, and it looks like Europe is worried about some issues with NATO as well, as potentially, could the U.S. pull out of NATO? Would the U.S. come to Europe's backing? NATO countries in Europe, if they were to be attacked by Russia, because there's a lot of talk about that within the next few years, Russia could launch an attack onto maybe the Baltic nations, which are NATO members. So major meeting being held today, and they're going to be discussing what to do about this concern. Okay, so another update regarding that from Vicegrad24. Breaking, the European emergency meeting on Ukraine hosted by Macron in Paris just started. These leaders are meeting. So Macron, Scholz, Meloni, Tusk, Schoof, Fredriksson, von der Leyen, and Costa. NATO's Mark Rutte. Denmark and Poland will represent the Nordic Baltic 8. Okay, so these are different countries that are going to be meeting to discuss the potential threats in the future with Russia, and how they're going to deal with Donald Trump's stance right now in regards to Europe as well. Because we've also had Pete Hegseth, the defense secretary, come out and say that Europe's on their own here. Basically, they need to start providing their own security. And then we also heard a couple days ago that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky came out at the Munich Security Conference, and he was stating that Europe should start forming their own army, create an army of Europe. So I'm not sure if that's what they're going to be discussing, but we should be hearing over the next 24 hours what exactly comes out from this emergency meeting, okay? So now from Bliskovka, the Trump administration has told European officials it wants to secure a ceasefire in Ukraine by Easter, according to Bloomberg. Some officials have said the pace of talks, which begin this week in Saudi Arabia, is ambitious and potentially unrealistic. Okay, so this is a statement that came out from Bloomberg. The Trump administration has told European officials that it wants to secure a ceasefire in Ukraine by Easter. According to people briefed on the conversation, some officials said the pace of the talks, which begin this week in Saudi Arabia with top U.S. and Russian officials, is ambitious and potentially unrealistic. Getting a resolution by the end of this year is much more likely, one person said, while adding they remain in a wait-and-see mode. Spokesman for the White House National Security Council didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. Okay, so this is kind of good news. At least we kind of have a time frame on how soon the U.S. administration is trying to end this war. So potentially like April is what we're looking at, for this war to be ending. We keep hearing that probably no later than May. Could we see a deal being struck between Ukraine and Russia? I think it all depends on a number of factors. We've been talking about this quite a bit over the last week, so we'll see what happens here. Now, a video from War Translated. There could be no talk of territorial concessions to Ukraine in the process of settling the war, says Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Okay, so the foreign minister out of Russia going to be stating here that once again, and we've heard this from multiple top officials from Russia, that they're not going to be willing to cede any territory that's been taken over by Russia previously inside of Ukraine. So he's going to be speaking very aggressively here towards Ukraine and calling them Nazis. So go ahead and take a look at this.
Вы хотите, чтобы вот эти вот замашки нацистские, а украинские вооруженные силы действуют еще похлеще, чем гитлеровские убийцы. Посмотрите, какие зверства они чинят на территориях. И вы хотите, чтобы даже мысль какая-то присутствовала на переговорах об урегулировании относительно того, что какие-то территории нужно еще уступить. Уступить-то как? С людьми, с русскими? Или без людей? С одними редкоземельными металлами? Вы хотите...
Okay, so Sergei Lavrov basically coming out and saying that Russia will not negotiate on, giving up any territories that they currently control inside of Ukraine. So we've been hearing this quite a bit, but just, once again, more confirmation that Russia is not going to be willing to negotiate on that part. Okay, now for Max 24. The U.S. blackmailed Ukraine in Munich so that Zelensky would sign the agreement on resources, according to RBC Ukraine. If not, they threatened to cancel the meeting with Vance. In the end, the condition was removed and the meeting took place. Okay, so I thought this was a big report coming out today, as looks like Ukraine was being held, being pushed to sign some sort of agreement. And we have been hearing a lot about that regarding rare earth minerals inside of Ukraine, that Ukraine was given very little time to look over some documents and sign some sort of deal with the U.S. to give up some of their resources in their country. And looks like they could have been potentially blackmailed at the conference, and maybe even being told that, hey, this conference isn't going to be held or something like that. But looks like it was reversed. They went ahead and held the Munich Security Conference anyway, okay? So thought that was interesting coming out there. Here's another one also from Max 24. We are not a country of resources. This is why I wanted this document to contain something about security guarantees, according to Zelensky. The Economist writes that Besant gave Zelensky only 1 hour, to accept the proposed economic agreement in exchange for U.S. support. Okay, so you can kind of see here that Ukraine looks like they're being rushed into signing some deal with the United States and probably having a lot of fine print located within this document that might screw over Ukraine in the future. And Ukraine just doesn't want to freely give up all their resources. They want something good in return, not only just weapons, or what if there's some sort of limit on how many weapons the US will provide them in exchange for these resources. They want to make sure they're getting a really good deal for giving up all these resources inside of their country, before they sign anything. Okay, so huge update there. Now from C4H10F02P, that is a long name. Greece will transfer all of its 32 decommissioned F-16 Block 30 fighters to Ukraine, according to Le Monde. Okay, so that's a French newspaper. And this is very big today. Okay, so 32 decommissioned F-16s are going to be going to Ukraine here very soon, coming from Greece. Okay, so huge update for the Ukrainians. I also have more information on F-16s right here. Max 24, the idea is to prepare young pilots for combat as quickly as possible, as Ukraine has received nearly 70 F-16 fighter jets donated by Denmark, the Netherlands, and Greece. Okay, so we've been wondering for a little while now how many F-16s Ukraine currently has. And according to Le Monde, it looks like they have somewhere around 70. Okay, so if they get these other 32, that'll push them over 100 or around 100 F-16 fighter jets. Okay, so that's very good for them. I didn't even know they had 70 already. I thought they had something much lower than that, maybe 30 to 50. But looks like they've got somewhere around 70 currently right now, and in the very near future, maybe up to 100 or more. Okay, so big update there. Now from Bliskovka, Volodymyr Zelensky will visit Saudi Arabia on Wednesday, according to Reuters. At the same time, the president noted that Ukraine did not know anything about the U.S.-Russia negotiations in this country, will not participate in them, and will not recognize them. Okay, so we heard about this last week that the U.S. and Russia was going to be meeting in Saudi Arabia for negotiations on trying to create a settlement to end this war. And Zelensky is not going to be part of those negotiations. They weren't even invited, apparently, to meet with Russia and the U.S. And looks like it's going to be some sort of closed-door meeting. And we are going to have Zelensky heading to Saudi Arabia on Wednesday, and he's saying that they are going to be heading over there, but won't have anything to do with these talks. And I do have another update here from Nexta. Zelensky stated that Ukraine was unaware of the negotiations in Saudi Arabia and will not recognize them. Ukraine considers any negotiations about Ukraine without Ukraine to be meaningless. We cannot acknowledge any agreements or arrangements made about us or without us, and we will not recognize such agreements. According to Zelensky, his visit to Saudi Arabia is unrelated to the negotiations between Russia and the U.S. Meanwhile, the president's press secretary noted that the trip had been planned in advance. Okay, so yeah, looks like he will be going to Saudi Arabia to discuss something else other than the relating peace talks that are going to be going on between Russia and the U.S. this week as well. And as far as I know, I think right now, just today, he arrived in the UAE, and he's supposed to be over there to discuss trying to do another transfer of Russian and Ukrainian prisoners of war, and try to get some of their troops back that are currently being held inside of Russia. All right, now from Anton Gerashenko, President Donald Trump said he's open to allowing Europe to buy U.S.-made weapons to give to Ukraine, Bloomberg reports. Trump replied, yeah, Sunday when asked about the prospect by reporters. It opens the door to Ukraine having access to weaponry even if Trump cuts off U.S. aid, the publication says. So Bloomberg reporting today, Trump open to Europe buying U.S.-made arms for Ukraine. President Donald Trump said he's open to allowing Europe to buy U.S.-made weapons to give to Ukraine. Latest twist as his administration looks to negotiate an end to the war. Okay, so this might be interesting. I mean, we know that Europe could potentially take a lead role here very soon. Let's say this war continues and the U.S. is like, you know what? We don't want to be a part of this anymore. We're not giving any more weapons to Ukraine. Maybe they will in exchange for, rare earth minerals. But if that deal doesn't get struck, there's a possibility that maybe the U.S. may not supply weapons to Ukraine anymore, and Europe may jump in, start buying U.S. weapons to keep this war going and supporting Ukraine. Big update today in regards to that. We'll see if that happens to be the case. Now from the Ukrainian Review, Trump's special representative Keith Kellogg will arrive in Kyiv on February 20th, and I want us to go to the front with him, according to Zelensky. So we heard about this last week, that Keith Kellogg might be brought to the front lines inside of Ukraine, so that way he can see how the frontline situation is unfolding right now, so that way they can try to make the best decision on what to do. Maybe on how they're also going to create this demilitarized zone on the eastern side of Ukraine, if that happens to be the case. So it looks like highly likely in the next few days we could potentially see Keith Kellogg, when he arrives in Kiev, heading to the front line with Volodymyr Zelensky. Now, from NOAA reports, Putin wants NATO troops removed from the whole of the former Soviet Empire. European officials believe Trump is likely to agree to withdraw U.S. troops from the Baltics and perhaps further west, leaving the EU vulnerable to a Russian army that NATO governments warn is preparing for a larger conflict beyond Ukraine. Okay, so it looks like the U.S. could potentially be even withdrawing their troops from the Baltic nations. That would be like Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. That would leave them more vulnerable to Russian attacks in the future. And could this be some sort of deal that they try to make with Russia to try to end this war? Potentially, yes. So that could be the case, as we are seeing that. The U.S. definitely seems to be giving in to a lot of Russian demands recently. And yeah, they could potentially be pulling their troops back from the border of Russia. All right, now, from Max 24, Ukraine can now produce 4 million drones per year despite the war, says Andriy Sabia. So that's very big news as well. We've been hearing that Ukraine has just been mass producing lots of drones. Lately, we have these FPV drones. This looks like a Baba Yaga drone. They attach bombs here to the bottom of this and drop them onto tanks and trench positions inside of Ukraine. And yeah, it looks like they're able to produce 4 million of these per year. So that's quite a bit. Just imagine how many drones are being used on the front line right now. It's got to be insane. And take a look at this as well from Claret Nihuis, if I'm saying that right. Russian soldier on the battlefield hasn't seen a single Ukrainian, only drones. The only time he saw Ukrainian troops was in captivity. Okay, so unfortunately I can't show you guys this video because it does have music in it, but there was an interview with this man who was a Russian soldier that was captured by Ukraine, and they interviewed him on how things were on the front line for him, and he's basically coming out. You can see here, it says it's a drone war. He was basically trying to tell all the Russian soldiers, don't even bother trying to attack Ukraine because Ukraine is controlling the skies with drones. We've been seeing lots of reports about that, even on Telegram. Many Russian soldiers complaining about that, especially in the Pokrovsk direction, that Russian soldiers can't really move forward because there's so many drones in the skies. So that was yet again more evidence that Ukraine is heavily controlling the skies inside of eastern Ukraine with drones, and it's increasing more every day. Now for Max 24, as talk of an imminent end to the war in Ukraine intensifies, Europe is already eyeing a resumption of large-scale purchases of Russian gas, according to The Economist. Some European officials are eyeing Russian gas with greed. Lower energy bills could revive moribund European industry and reassure households. Okay, so we've been hearing about this too, that we could potentially see Europe start to increase their purchase of Russian gas once again, especially once this war comes to an end. I think that will be the case. I think a lot of countries are going to start doing that, as it's very cheap for them to do that, to start purchasing from Russia. So don't be surprised if that happens to be the case. And I would not also be surprised if Ukraine started striking a lot of these oil pipelines, gas pipelines, trying to destroy them as much as possible. So that way the West doesn't try to jump back onto Russia and start purchasing more gas from them again. So don't be shocked if we see something like that as well. All right, a few more updates for you guys. Now from Max 24 again. On the night of January 27th to the 28th, 2025, two expensive enemy electronic warfare R-330ZH Zytel complexes were destroyed in Voronezh, according to the GUR. The specified automated stations were located at the Protec plant where they are manufactured. Okay, so this was video coming out. Sorry guys, I can't show you the sound again because it basically just has music for the most part. But we can see, looks like two of these electronic warfare systems were destroyed and caught on fire. These are just kind of pictures of them coming out. So this was a report indicating that two of these were destroyed. Okay, so these are used for electronic warfare to bring down incoming drones to their territory, okay, inside of Russia. So big report there. Now from Vigesti, Pokrovsk direction, 1437th Motorized Rifle Regiment under siege from three directions. If Ukraine increases the military pressure, this regiment will fall quickly. Okay, so this is an update out of Pokrovsk, which we've been talking about Pokrovsk a lot. I've mentioned to you guys the major transport and rail hub city in the Donetsk region. And just to the southwest over here, Ukraine launched some new counterattacks as the Russians are trying to move around the backside and cut off this main highway, this highway as well, that brings in lots of equipment into Pokrovsk. And we've been letting you guys know too that if Pokrovsk ends up falling into the hands of Russia, the Donetsk region could collapse very quickly. So Ukraine launched this new counteroffensive over here. The Russians are up in this area. So it looks like 3 different sections. Ukraine has been launching these attacks, and they've taken over a couple settlements over here. I know they've taken over this one, Pishain. So right now, the Ukrainians are doing everything they can to hold back Russia in Pokrovsk as well, okay? Now we'll move on to Michael McKay. Units of the armed forces of Ukraine have broken through the border into Kursk region, Russian Federation, at a point 40 kilometers west of the main incursion. Ukrainian forces tied down at least 60,000 Russian and North Korean troops on the Kursk battlefront. Okay, so you can see the dates here. This came out yesterday, February 16, 2025. And I have not seen anybody else talking about this, so I can't completely confirm this information. But it looks like Ukraine has launched another incursion into the Kursk region. So most of the fighting is going to be over here in this area here, Snagosty here in Kornevo. So Ukraine's mostly up on the more to the right side of your screen over here. And this is the Glushkovki district that we talked about months back. Around probably September, October area, Ukraine was trying to take this area over, and Ukraine has launched incursions into here previously, but looks like they launched another one. Okay, so if I get more information on this, I'll give you guys another update, but looks like Ukraine is trying to cross the border into the Kursk region, into the Glushkovki district once again over here, okay? Now from Zeneb Ribua, it's official, Putin lost Syria. According to Al-Hal, Syrian Foreign Minister Assad al-Shaibani said that all contracts with Russia will not be renewed and Syria will not be subordinated to any regional axis. Okay, so this is a very big update. Looks like Russia has been chased out of Syria completely now. I'm not sure if they're going to be holding their 2 bases here. They've got this Latakia Russian air base and also a naval base in Tartus. We have been seeing Russia starting to take a lot of their equipment out of there recently, and they've been trying to work with the new Syrian government over there, or the authorities, and work with them and try to, create some sort of diplomatic solution to try to still keep their air base and naval base over here. But it looks like they could be chased out completely, as a lot of these contracts are not going to be renewed, okay? So it looks like Russia is potentially to be kicked out of Syria completely here very soon. Now from the Ukrainian Review, China's participation in negotiations to resolve the war in Ukraine is not ruled out, as Beijing can provide security guarantees, okay? So this is a big update as well, that China could potentially be involved in the negotiations with Russia. And we did hear last week also that that Xi Jinping could deploy a peacekeeping contingent into Ukraine also to the front line and protect the demilitarized zone that gets created. So that's very big as well. And just wanted to give you guys that update out of China, as it looks like China could be heavily involved very soon. Okay, now from Vicegrad 24, breaking: Europe is preparing a large joint military aid package for Ukraine. It's likely to be presented at the end of this month, according to Bloomberg. Okay, this was being reported yesterday, that looks like Europe could be preparing a major aid package for Ukraine here very soon. And we have not heard any details on this, but as soon as I get that, I'll give you guys that huge update very soon, okay? Now, finally, our last update of the day from the Kiev Independent. These are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of February 17th, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Final update of the day, guys. Russia's losses as of February 17th: 1,530 troops, 52 AFVs, 149 vehicles and fuel tanks, 16 tanks, 37 artillery systems, 128 UAVs, and 1 special equipment. Okay, so we are seeing the troop losses bumping up a little bit higher today. I think last week we were hovering right around 12 to 1,300. Today jumped up a little bit higher, 1,500 casualties on the Russian side. Lots of vehicles and fuel tanks being destroyed, and 16 tanks, okay? So still maintaining right over 15 tanks per day that we've been seeing over the last week. So lots of equipment being destroyed on the Russian side, reported by Ukrainian intelligence. And huge updates today coming out from this war. And I hope you guys got something out of this. Just wanted to get you more information in regards to this war potentially coming to an end here in the next few months. And I think also Donald Trump did mention today that he is concerned about Ukraine potentially not wanting to end this war. I think actually Russia, he's worried about Russia coming out and saying, "Hey, we're not going to end this war. We want to keep things going." And I think he also said that he's worried about that, and it's going to be a problem for the U.S. Okay, so we'll have to see what happens there. I guess Trump is concerned that potentially this war isn't going to come to an end. Okay, so we'll really have to see what happens here. It all depends on Ukraine and Russia at the end of the day. All the negotiators can get involved, but ultimately Russia and Ukraine have to agree to any kind of peace deal for this war to come to an end. So I want to thank you all so much for tuning in today. If you got something out of this update, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.